Greetings, fellow conquerors, and welcome to the answers from last week's, well, not last week's, it was 3 days ago. I posted the video saying, hey, what are some questions you guys want to ask me, as well as announcing the introduction of the next campaign. Of course, some of you are probably going to be wondering and wishing that I had uploaded this one instead, where instead I formed the Kingdom of Jerusalem. I did it as the Knights. I've been saving periodically, both so I could actually succeed and so that I could give a good guide once I actually finish up the run. But as you can see, we're only 130 years in. We're basically the Ottomans, and life is pretty good as Jerusalem. Although I kind of wish I'd stayed the Knights just because it was a cool idea. But anyway, this is going to be a video dedicated to answering every single comment and question in the Q&A video. So, without further ado, and while you stare at this lovely map of Europe in 1578, let's begin, and we'll try to get through this as, it's going to be a while, but maybe not as quickly as we can, but with, relative haste. Okay, so, first things first, Tajo, one of my, longtime subscribers, and a pretty vocal one at that, and I really appreciate his participation. And he asked, well, you are a pretty amazing guy, and you absolutely deserve the subscribers. Let's get some Q&A. Question number 1, Desmond. Question number 2, Desmond. And last but not least, question number 3, Desmond. And somebody replied asking number 4, Desmond. And the only answer I can really, muster for that is, Desmond. Alright, next. Angel of Joy says, you might become the next Arumba or Quill 18. And somebody replies, IKR? Well, yeah. And Angel of Joy says, yep, I'm proud of him. I'm gonna, in a couple years, be a smug bastard and say I was in the first 500 subs. Hopefully he becomes much better than Arumba and Quill 18. And somebody else says, I'm planning on doing that too. And, of course, Sexy Squid saying, he's got more of a personality and it's more fun to watch him than Arumba. Well, hey, guys, I appreciate it. But I have to say, Arumba is in the place he's in for a good reason. He's a very good player. He's definitely, he is better than me. He's, he's a little bit higher. He's played more than I have. But he also does this for a living. So, and it's okay, guys, if you, I'm not saying, like, hey, just stop liking me. No, what I'm saying is, don't use me as an excuse to, like, bash other channels, basically. Friendly competition's fine. Let's just, I don't want to cross that boundary, because I'm very happy with, I'm very happy with all of you, really. Most of you are very, very good in the comments, and, I'm very happy about that. Alright, so next we have, Torture, who asks, not like torture, like to torture someone, but like a torch, and he's a torturer. So for Q&A, what is your favorite nation to play, or favorite nation to play as, and what is your favorite religion in EU4? Definitely my favorite nation to play in EU4, even though and here's my thing about EU4, I've only ever played a nation in EU4 once. I've never played a nation twice. But the nation I enjoyed the most out of every nation I've played is Muscovy. And Muscovy is fun because you get stupid amounts of manpower, stupid amounts of force limit, and you can expand in every direction. It's extremely fast-paced compared to most starts, and it was a blast the entire time I played it. One of my best runs overall as well. And my favorite religion in EU4, I actually really like New Catholicism, and I really like New Protestantism as well. My next recap, I'm going to be doing a thing about the Vajrayana faith for the Buddhists. I'm not really a fan of that one. Overall, though, in terms of sheer strength of like capability, I'm really a fan of the way that Islam is implemented into the game, just because it's very powerful, it's very strong, and it's very flexible. And you don't have to do anything special, and it's also really hard to convert, so, people take your land, and you want to take it back later, they usually don't convert it just because it's so hard to convert. So, yeah. And then somebody immediately asks, what's your favorite nation to play as? Louis Weisberg, Muscovy. Commander Red asks, are you going to play the extended timeline mod? Well, that's a good question. I've actually never modded EU4. A bit of a confession of mine. And while I don't, well, it's not necessarily out of the question. I've seen Arumba's playthrough of the extended timeline mod, and it was the beginning was very strange. So, I don't know, maybe someday, but not, not in the foreseeable future, not right now, I should say, because we have so many runs that I want to do for YouTube, and I can only upload so much, apart from my recaps, when I just, basically summarize what I did in my single-player time. I believe this is either a Hungarian or a Czech name. Forgive me if that bothers you, but he has a very funny comment. It says, "Darkfire, I've reached 1,000 subs. It's time to make a guide." A few days later, congrats on 2,000 subs. And me, time to do a 2,000 sub special. Reaches 2,500 subs. Huh? Oh God! I'll just make a quick little video. Yep, throw that in there. Done. Oh good God! I can finally rest. Reach 5,000 subs. Why? Anyway, congrats on 2,500 subscribers. Thank you very much, Vuk, if I'm pronouncing your name right. And Q&A, what got you into YouTube? And what inspired you to try to make a little masterpiece in the little corner of YouTube? What got me into YouTube? Well, I've been watching YouTube since I was like a teenager, right? Usually for just funny videos, because that's what all I thought YouTube was for a long time. But I've always been a fairly avid gamer, much to my parents' chagrin, unfortunately. My family in general, friends sometimes even. Most of my friends are pretty cool about it, though. Some people aren't really, they don't really approve of the whole gaming revolution, as I like to call it, but I digress. So what got me into YouTube as I'm assuming you mean as like a Let's Player. Well, for the longest time, I've been watching people play games. Probably since, probably about 5 or 6 years now, I've been watching, like, Let's Plays and Twitch streams and things of that nature, and, I always found the concept interesting, but I thought it would be, too difficult to, get into, the actual recording and stuff, so I never tried it myself, and then recently, I was watching a YouTuber by the name of Pixelated Apollo. He does a game called Total War. All the entire series, I should say, not just a game, but he does videos on the series of Total War, and in one video in a Q&A he mentioned yeah, hey, here's the recording software I use, and here it's really easy to actually kind of do this, and I said, well, I don't really have any excuses anymore, so I started doing it, and from there, just it took a while, but it eventually took off. But I wanted to do it because I was watching, I think it was Shenmue 2, and I thought to myself, man, I love watching Shen, and I love watching Arumba, but they play this game very methodically, I want to say, and there's less character in it. It's very much just almost like a spreadsheet simulator to watch, and I'm more, I thought to myself as well that they don't really get into the history of it, and when I play games like this, historical games, I always wonder, well, what's the history behind this? What is the, what actually happened here? What happened with this nation, this little nation? What happened with this nation? Why did France do this in this year? And, I think that stuff is super interesting, and I love trying to, when I'm doing my Let's Plays, actually, emulate doing that, and in my England campaign, very much the imperialist, snobby attitude that I think the British would have had back then, that they certainly seem to have, at least as it's portrayed in the media and in history. The British are just very smarmy, if I may say. I think they still are. The fact that their dialect, for example, the British accent we all think of, was fabricated by the upper nobility to, basically to, differentiate themselves from the commoners, and eventually the commoners picked it up too because they wanted to be like the gentry, and so eventually everybody in England just started talking with that accent that we all know as today, which I think is just hilarious and speaks, volumes about British society and the British attitude towards the rest of the world, this sort of domineering imperialist mindset that is really fun to do in my Let's Play. But anyway, that's enough for that question, so let's move on to the next one. And Eris Theocharis asks, what was the first nation you played as, and how did that run go? The first nation I tried was Spain, and I was really bad at this game because I was expecting it to be like, you know, Civ 5, basically, where you could just attack anyone for no reason, and alliances didn't really mean all that much, because in most games of this type, if I may rant for a little bit, most games of this type, the AI is extremely dumb. You know, we are extremely blessed to have an AI in EU4 that is competent enough to make alliances and actually like honor alliances in a meaningful alliance system that is just so different from any currently existing like 4X game, and you could argue that that's what differentiates this game from a 4X game and a grand strategy game. But in my opinion, I feel like Civ and especially like I would love for the Total War series to have a more in-depth system like this, but they kind of don't care about that, I guess. But anyway, so I played as Spain, and I kept like getting rebels because I'd get like negative stability. I didn't even know what that was back then. I just like it was really bad. I had no idea what I was doing in this game because I just expected it to be like other 4X, you know, like a 4X game, because that's what it seemed to be, basically. So yeah, I tried playing as Spain, and it didn't really go over well. And then it was a funny providence because I saw that I'm like, oh, you can play as Spain and England and France and Sweden. You can play as all these big nations, and then I accidentally misclicked on a province in the HRE, and that province ended up being Cologne. And it's, you know, I saw it and it showed their information, and I'm like, and I saw that the play button was lit, and I thought to myself, I'm like, there's no way that you can do this, right? Like, there's no way you can play as this tiny little nation in the Holy Roman Empire. Like, there's just no way. And then I click on it, and then I'm like, well, I might as well hit the play button. And then I discovered that, like, oh my god, you can play as every single nation in this game. And I kind of freaked out and binged this game non-stop until, well, I played as Cologne. That was the nation I found, and this was the first nation I played from start to finish, and I was hooked, trying to figure out how to play this nation because back when I started playing, basically if you took one province in the HRE, it was grounds to get a coalition. It was really rough, but I actually managed to form not only Westphalia in that game, but also ended up forming Germany as well, just barely, because. And this is funny. It was the only game I've played in like 750 hours of this game where Austria actually formed the HRE, and I've never seen them do it since. And it was my first campaign, and so I just assumed it was something that happened all the time. Well, imagine to my disappointment that when it doesn't happen. But yeah. Cologne, that was the first nation I ever played, and thus formed Westphalia, and thus formed Germany, and it was really fun, and really made me love this game. Right, so let's get this back in the recording window. Damn it! Hold on. I need to actually Alt-tab this shit. Okay. Alright. Nikolai, I'm assuming, even though it's spelled with a J, Nikolai 11, Q&A. If you had a time machine, what historical event would you most like to witness? In my recent studies at college, I came across the War of the Roses in a History of England class. History of England before 1688 was the name of the course, and I read about the War of the Roses, and it was one of the few times I actually picked up a textbook, right? Because I very rarely have the patience to actually sit down and read a textbook, even if it is about history, just because I find them to be so droll, and I would rather experience them in the summary and then kind of think of my own kind of story behind it, right? But I decided to read about the War of the Roses because I picked it as a topic on an essay, and at the end of the War of the Roses, you have the Battle of Bosworth Field, which basically Henry Lancaster is on this hill in Wales, and Richard III, you know, the successor of Edward, the White Rose, who actually took over the throne for a bit. He has this army of like 12,000 versus Henry's 2,500, and it's the funniest thing. Richard's men were like, "Hey, we outnumber him by too much. We need to make this an honorable engagement, so we're not going to help you out." And other nobles were like, "We're just not interested. We don't want to fight anymore." And probably because they didn't like Richard because he was a kinslayer and a murderous bastard, basically. But on top of that, Henry also had 2,500 elite Burgundian mercenaries at his command, rather than just peasants, basically. So Richard III charged up the hill with barely any troops left because all of his men abandoned him, and they were all slaughtered. And I think that would have been, I would love to see that like actually happen, just because it was the strangest thing, right? Like, you can't make this stuff up. And I would love to see that. And I would love to see the War of the Roses in its entirety as an observer. I don't want to be a part of it, of course. And I would also love to see the Battle of Agincourt, where the English slaughtered the French. Like, they lost 100 troops and killed like 12,000 because they used longbows and the French were charging into a marsh. And the English had a hill advantage. It was just a massacre, really, and I think that would be really interesting to see as well. So, now British history isn't the only history that I like, but those are two events that I would definitely love to see, at least right now. My interests change over time, and I think that happens to everybody. All right, so also please play a Denmark campaign. He says, I'll think about it. I can only upload so much. I may do a recap of Denmark, because I've never played as them, and I think it would be interesting. Though I'm sure it just boils down to, like, hey, get strong allies like France and take Sweden's land when he tries to declare independence, but I digress. Anyway. Next is League Amino Acid, who says, I have 3 questions. 1, what is your favorite DLC? My favorite DLC is probably Art of War, just for the sole fact that it let you start changing hands with provinces. But apart from that, I'm also really a big fan of Common Sense. Conceptually, even though development is kind of a waste of points still, to this day. But I loved the idea of it, and I loved a lot of the other changes it added as well. And I'm also a big fan of El Dorado, just because customations are really cool, even though I don't play them that much. And the ability to make a completely random world is absolutely awesome. So number 2, what was your most fun playthrough? I think I mentioned it as my favorite country. Probably Muscovy, for sure. And number 3, what's the most rewarding achievement you've ever got? Funny story, I don't really play that much for achievements. But if I had to think about it, I would definitely count the. I would count the restoration of the Eastern Roman Empire as I basically got all the provinces I needed to form Rome, but it was back before forming Rome was an option. So, but yeah, that was a really fun thing to do in terms of like achievements. That was the first truly tough campaign I did, and such an iconic start too. Like, everyone, people kind of define themselves by their Byzantium playthroughs. But yeah, that's kind of my thing about achievements. I don't really care about achievements. I care about having fun. No, I care about enjoying myself when I'm playing the game. And I find too often achievements just force you to play like a really cheesy way. And I'm not really a fan of that. Like in this campaign, for example, with Jerusalem, what you used to have to do as the knights if you wanted to get the achievement is basically you had to just wait for the Ottomans to attack the Mamluks. And then while the Mamlukian army was destroyed, you just besieged all of the Jerusalem provinces, take them in a no-CB war, and from there you would just you'd get the achievement, because you had to do it before the Protestant Reformation. So you had like 50 years to get this, and it was rough. But now, first of all, they fixed that, so now you can form Jerusalem whenever, so it's not that bad of an achievement anymore. But yeah, I don't really play for achievements. I save scum sometimes. I like save scumming, especially when I'm making these guides. I don't like playing on Iron Man because I want to get people information, and I could care less about, you know, having a thing on my Steam page. Especially like if I do it with, you know, without Iron Man on, like my England campaign, for example, I haven't saved scum at all in that campaign. So I could have just been playing it in Iron Man, but I didn't want to play it in Iron Man because I just don't care that much. But yeah, that's kind of how I feel about achievements. I really just don't care that much. Alright, next. Hundham. How powerful is Desmond exactly? And somebody replies godlike, and then we kind of have a little bit of a squabble in the comments, but how powerful is Desmond? Well, Desmond is honestly the most powerful nation in the game, at the game start, of course. You know, anybody can become the strongest, but Desmond starts out as the strongest. They have a whopping, like, 12 development. Actually, we can actually zoom in here and see their province. So here's Cork. They start out with 10 development. As you can see, they're one province minor, but they're just they're the best. They start out with 9,000 prestige, and so that's 900% more land morale, and you know, 500 power projection, which is another 50. You know, 500 power projection. That's another 50% morale of armies. So they've got 950% morale of armies at the game start. They have 170% discipline, and their army tradition is capped at 100 at all times, and every general they roll is a 6 in every stat. Also, all their leaders roll their 6s in every stat. So Desmond is definitely the most powerful in the game, and there's just no disputing that. You know, minus the bear has landed, of course. The name of that nation is escaping me, but I remember the code to activate them. Anyway, how powerful is Desmond actually? Desmond is a one province minor in Ireland, and they actually start out with a fairly average amount of development. But as I recall, I had a friend who, to honor my YouTube comments, because he's kind of been following the series as well, like a real life friend. He started playing as Desmond, and he said he was actually doing pretty well. And Desmond gets some pretty decent ideas. One of which, notably, is morale of armies, and another one is core cost reduction. So if you are trying to form Ireland, Desmond is definitely not a bad pick. They get some very solid ideas if you do manage to survive. Otherwise, it's a fairly rough start in Ireland, because once you unite Ireland, you then have to defeat England, and that is no mean feat. Though taking Scottish land can certainly help with that. But I digress, once again. So that's Desmond in a nutshell. Alright, Thomas Haig asks, any advice for not getting wiped out as the Ottomans while playing as Athens? That is a really tough question to answer without actually having done it. But basically, what I can tell you is that, as far as I understand, first of all, you need to win your independence, and then from there, you just basically play as if you were Byzantium and try to ally Poland. Pretty much everything in this area of the world, just ally Poland and Lithuania, and hope that they rival the Ottomans, and if not, just restart until they do. And that's really all there is to it. Like, of course, obviously with Athens you have the extra issues, but yeah, that's about all I can think of for that, to really help you without actually doing it. Alright, so, next question. Opinion on the upcoming Rights of Man expansion. This is by Zevun. And honestly, I think it's going to be the best DLC for EU4 since Art of War, and I'm almost certainly going to get it at full price, because everything that they've promised and showed that they're changing looks like it's just going to be awesome. Some of it's minor, like the Prussian government, which I'll probably talk about later because I think somebody asked about it. And, you know, the Ottoman, like, harem, like, I kind of, you know, I could care less about those. What I really care about in Rights of Man is the changes to the tech system. I think that's going to be awesome. You know, I think it's really going to help. You know, it's going to make the rest of the world much better to play now that you don't have to westernize. And I think that I'm going to actually start playing the rest of the world a lot more. And I hope that other people do too. And holy crap, I just look... Sorry to get distracted from the questions, but look at that Nepal. Look at him. He's actually not that big because, you know, he's taken over a mountain range, but that's beside the point, I guess. Nepal actually gets some pretty cool ideas. I'll be talking about that in my Tibet recap once I make that, because I'm pretty much done with that campaign, as you can see, since I've started as the Knights, but anyway, getting sidetracked. So yeah, Rights of Man, I think Rights of Man is going to be excellent. I think it's going to be amazing. I think it's going to revolutionize the game. And I think the tech changes are free, actually, so everybody can get to enjoy that, honestly. And of course, and he also asks, what is your opinion on HRE electors, chiefly Bohemia? Without looking at a start in 1444, I think Bohemia itself is a very strong start. You know, you're almost as big as Austria with Silesia. You have a lot of options for expansion, and it's pretty easy to get in alliance with the French as well. And you're in a good position to become the emperor since you start out with imperial authority. So I think Bohemia is a great country. I think Bohemia is a lot of fun. Most of the other electors are pretty small and difficult to play, comparatively speaking. If you want to actually be the emperor and, you know, unite the HRE, but that's neither here nor there, I suppose. Anyway. So, next question, Aberdonian Mapper says, amazing EU4 series, now Country Balls, what next? You know, that's, I can tell you what's coming next. We got a Byzantium playthrough coming up when Rights of Man releases. And, in fact, if we finish the England campaign before Rights of Man releases in October, so we've got like a whole month to finish the England campaign, and if I'm uploading one a day, we'll probably get there at the speed that I play at. And if we finish before then, I'm going to do like this crazy custom nation diplomatic idea I've had in my head for a while. And that'll be pretty fun. Next we have Imperator Morpheus. What did you expect about the new expansion? Honestly, given that the Cossacks and Mare Nostrum were not like great in my opinion, I was kind of just expecting it to be another fluff DLC where they didn't really address anything. And now that we know about the tech system and some of the other crazy changes like abdication of the throne, I think it's going to be amazing. I think it's going to be awesome. Next, we have Keine Ahnung und so, and he asks, do you think that Prussia is overpowered? Prussian ideas are some of the best, well, actually, they're the best military ideas in the game, but I don't think Brandenburg is necessarily overpowered because, even though they are Western, they are fairly small at the game start, so you kind of have to work for it, and that makes them very satisfying to play, I think. In terms of just raw, like, idea to idea without any context, yeah, they're overpowered, but that's not really like the point of EU4. EU4, I love, you know, that like small nations get really good idea groups most of the time anyway, to help compensate for their, you know, pretty lackluster starts. So yeah, that's what I think about Prussia. Next, Adam Buer asks, alright, who's the one hater that left a dislike? Hey, you know, if you're watching this and you didn't like the 2,500 subscribers video, well, first of all, I would probably ask why you didn't like the video itself. Maybe because I didn't actually like move or anything during the video, kind of like I'm not doing for this. But there's actually a very good reason I do that, and it's because my internet speed sucks and uploading takes forever. So if I don't move the screen around, it has to actually upload less because it's actually like, you know, putting less frames on the actual video. Which is kind of why I don't do like super interesting visuals on stuff, just because I care more about answering questions than I do about like the actual video itself being interesting, which, you know, is debatable. I'm not saying it's like a great practice or anything, but that's that question. Next, Dome asks, for Q&A, what is your opinion on Croatia, and will you ever make a Let's Play on it? Well, Croatia is not in the game at the start of the game. But if you're talking about Ragusa, I have tried to play Ragusa before, and it's a fairly difficult start, all things considered. Even though you are guaranteed by the Ottomans. I've never actually looked at Croatia, even though I see them get formed a lot. I've never actually like looked closely at Croatia and seen what their national ideas are, so I can't even really rate them on that, and I apologize for that. But maybe I'll, you know, now that you mentioned it, I might do a recap on it. Once probably 2 games from now, because I like to avoid playing in the Balkans as much as I can, just because it's so difficult because of the Ottomans, basically. But yeah, that's I'm sorry, I don't know much about Croatia. Next we have Declan Glitz, who asks, have you ever modded EU4, and if so, could you provide a guide for that? I have never modded EU4, but it's pretty easy as far as I understand. You just go into the Steam Workshop and you download a, you go to the mod you want to talk about, you subscribe to the mod in the Steam Workshop, and then, when you open up the game launcher, you go to the actual, there's a mod section, and there you can just turn your mods on and off. It's really easy. Now, if you're playing an illegitimate version, which I'm not saying you are, and you don't have the launcher with which to do this, then obviously your life is going to be a little bit more difficult, and you're going to have to do some special stuff probably, and download the mod manually from a site. But anyway, that's enough for that. Next we have Amagio Trim, who says, I'm glad I found your amazing channel, and thank you. People like you make it all possible, for sure. And in a similar comment for the next two, we have Dune Cow, who says congratulations, and Tim Bushman, who says, well done, I love your vids. And, thank you guys very much. I really do appreciate every single congratulations, and I love your videos, and you're awesome, and all the stuff like that. It's very encouraging to hear. It's very good for my morale and motivation to actually keep uploading and stuff. You guys make it all possible, and thank you very much. All right, next we have Scottish Mapping 3, who says, what are some good tips for playing EU4? Number one, get alliances. Get good allies. It is hard to do well in EU4 as a country of any size if you don't have allies but your enemies do. Another good, just general tip I can say about EU4 is always just read things. Look at how much stability you have. When you're about to declare a war, just read, see who's going to be on the side. Before you declare the war, if you're not sure you can win, go into the ledger and look and see how many troops your enemies have. Just always make informed, good decisions when playing EU4. And he says, yeah, even though I've already put 150 hours into it, I've still got quite a lot to learn, as I can tell from your Britain playthrough. And yeah, and those would be the tips I would say. Get alliances, and always make informed decisions. Pretty much any other advice is going to be situational depending on the country, I would say, in terms of actual plans of expansion and stuff like that. But yeah, and of course, just keep playing the game and keep practicing, and you'll learn things all the time. Next, Cristiano Bertucci asks, do a guide on Byzantium. I'm going to do a playthrough of Byzantium, so I hope that'll be good enough for you. Though I understand it's not going to be as quick. What I can tell you from here, though, is basically just ally Poland. Try to get a start where Poland rivals the Ottomans. If you yourself can rival the Ottomans off the bat, and Poland does as well, then you can very easily get an alliance with Poland, Lithuania, which is enough to deter the Ottomans generally. And of course, get alliances with anyone else who's not hostile towards you, and who also has rivaled the Ottomans. Venice sometimes does it. Austria sometimes does it. And yeah, that would be my general tips to you to start out with. Lero Valtonen asks, do you play Hearts of Iron 4? Yes, I own a Hearts of Iron 4, but I only have 40 hours in it, and it's because, it's kind of a long subject, but Hearts of Iron 4 I found to be a little bit, what's the word? How do I want to describe Hearts of Iron 4? I found it a little bit, not unfinished, but a little bit feature lacking, compared to EU4, which is, EU4 has had plenty of time to flesh out. Basically, I'm just waiting for the DLC and expansions for Hearts of Iron 4 that will make it a truly amazing game. But in general, I don't find Hearts of Iron to be as interesting as as EU4, just because in EU4 you can play as literally any tiny country in the world, and over the course of the game become a reasonable power. And I love that about this game, that there's just infinite replayability in the number of countries that you can play. And I think that's great. I think that's beautiful. And that's not really the case in Hearts of Iron. Hearts of Iron tries more to be a sim, basically. Hearts of Iron 3 especially was that way. But Hearts of Iron 4 definitely still, if you're small, there's only so much you can do. If you start as a South American country, your likelihood of beating the USA is pretty slim. But yeah, that's my opinion on Hearts of Iron 4. I do like the game a lot. I love the music and visuals and stuff especially. But for now, I'm kind of holding off on it until they get around to kind of changing the game in meaningful ways. So next we have Sylvan Kunak, who says congratulations on 2,500 subs. Thank you, I appreciate that for sure. Next we have 117 Fatality, who says congrats on the subs, and his question is, do you play other Paradox games like Hearts of Iron 4 or Stellaris, and if you do, what's your opinion on them? Alright, so I already kind of talked about Hearts of Iron 4. So next I'm going to talk about, I play Crusader Kings 2. I played a little bit of Victoria 2, about 60 hours or so. No, about 80 hours of Victoria 2. And I also played Stellaris, probably about 60 hours of Stellaris. I really like Crusader Kings 2, but I'm terrible at it. I don't understand what I'm trying to do. And that's a problem for me. Like, I understand the mechanics, I just don't get them. I'm like, okay, so I'm a duke, but am I trying to become king? Like, I had a game recently I tried to play, where like I was playing in Lombardy in like the earliest start, like in the Charlemagne start, and I managed to win like the king slot, but my ruler died during the war, so his son, the heir, became king instead. And then I found out it was an elective monarchy, and that everything I had tried to do basically meant nothing. And I was a little frustrated by that, and I went back to playing EU4. Stellaris is really fun. I'm really excited about the next patch. That's going to make like Fallen Empires come to life. Heinlein is the name of the patch, and I'm pretty excited about that. And Victoria 2, I love Victoria 2, but I also haven't played it enough to really master it. And I don't really have time to, because I have a lot of classwork. I have like a job. I do EU4 videos, and so finding the time to play it is difficult. But I do love Victoria 2 a lot. It's definitely like probably my second favorite Paradox game after EU4. Next, U2D says all of the standard Q&A questions. I'm not really sure what the standard Q&A questions are, so I apologize. Next, Tobo Mapper says congrats for your subs. Number 1, he asked, do you like other Paradox games? Yes, I do. I kind of answered that in the last question. Number 2, what's your favorite South American country in EU4? I haven't actually played as any of the South American countries in EU4. I've only got 750 hours in the game, and that's just enough time to get some, Western experience under my belt and some Asian experience. So I haven't really played much in America. So sorry about that. And number 3, comment cited. God damn it, -1 stability. The economy, fools. The economy. I think it's always the one I pick because I usually play countries with terrible economies, so that's what I blame. Next we have Mylan Toshev, who asks, how many hours have you been playing EU4 for? Let me give you an exact count. As of right now, let's see, where's EU4? 765 hours as of the recording of this video. So not as much as some of the YouTubers out there, but definitely like a decent amount of time, I would say. And next he asks, what do you think of Rights of Man? Well, I kind of already explained that I love it, and the changes in it. And do you think Prussia will be overpowered? I don't think Prussia will be overpowered. In fact, I think Prussia will kind of suck because they can't expand anymore. It's kind of what happened to merchant republics in Mare Nostrum, where they said, oh, you can't own more than 20 provinces anymore, or you lose Republican tradition. So haha, fuck you for wanting to play a republic, basically. Really mad at Paradox about that, for making republics that way. And I'm kind of... Prussia's going to be the same way, because Prussia basically has a province limit now. Or they start losing their bonuses and stop being Prussia, basically, which kind of sucks. But next we have another comment from Thomas Haig, who says, technically it would be the resurrection of the Eastern Roman Empire, and speaking of, I'd like to see you form the Roman Empire in a playthrough of Byzantium. Well, we're certainly going to try, that's for sure. Sunka Harder, if I'm pronouncing that right, says, if you could change one thing in EU4, what would it be and how would you change it? Before Rights of Man was announced, I was going to say tech, but now this is a very modest change, I feel like. Honestly, I would change forts. I really do not like the current implementation of forts. And forts go hand in hand with one other thing. And so, in the past of EU4, if you're newer to it, there used to be these buildings that cost 1,000 ducats to make. One like lowered tech costs by 5%. One gave you like military tradition and a military leader without upkeep, and like I said, they cost 1,000 ducats, so they're very expensive. But basically, like, you used to be able to get like a resting army tradition of like 80 or at least 60. If you were fighting wars and had that building, but now to get a decent army, resting army tradition, you have to have like quality aristocratic and defensive. And that kind of sucks in my opinion. So if I could change one thing, I would make it so that there was an easier way to get army tradition other than just bleeding your troops out and having like crap tons of forts. And the other thing I would change is very modest. I like the fort mechanic itself. I would change the cost of forts. I think forts are too expensive in terms of maintenance. Like when you're not at war, you should still get the army tradition even if they're mothballed. But they should just cost less when you're not at war anyway. And that would be what I would change. First of all, make it easier to get army tradition again, and second of all, mothball the forts. Next we have Yukio Shinmon, who asks, so monarchy or republic? Honestly, republic. Though I've barely played republics. I really love them. But actually, honestly, monastic order, theocracy. Because you never have to worry about heirs. You can turn all of your leaders into generals. It's amazing. I love the way that theocracy works. And I believe it was Common Sense that made the change to them. But I think I love the theocracy. It's great. Plus, you get religious and diplomatic ideas. If you want to form a theocracy and you have common sense, all you have to do is pick up diplomatic and religious ideas, and then you can change into one. And it doesn't matter what your government rank is, you'll just become one. And then you have a great government that gives you tons of money, great events, and lots of free money, prestige, and otherwise. So, yeah, theocracies are OP, and I love them. Next, a guy asks, how old are you? I am 22 years old. And that's all I'll say on the subject. Next, Dumb Video Making 101 asks, what kind of music do you like? I like all kinds of music. And that's not an exaggeration. I like a little bit from every genre, but it is just a little bit. I don't listen to literally anything because I'm tasteless. I listen to music that I think is good. So I'll listen to like Latin medieval chants if I like them. I will listen to classical music if I like it. I will listen to national anthems and military songs from like around the world. I also listen to a lot of like 90s, early 2000s. I want to say American rock because I know only 30% of my viewership is American, so I want to say specifically like American English rock. In fact, I think foreign rock is the only kind of or foreign music, because I do listen to foreign music, but foreign rock is not something I listen to much, just because I'm not really experienced with it. Although I do like the song Dalai Lama by Rammstein. I think that's a great song. Next, are you ever going to play other games, possibly Hoi 4 or Victoria 2? Once I eventually get better internet, I would love to do like a second series, even if it's just more EU4. But for the time being, I'm just going to stick to EU4, and then eventually, yeah, I might branch out and try playing Victoria 2 and try playing Crusader Kings, or even Hearts of Iron 4 once it gets better, or even Stellaris, because Stellaris looks like it's going to be pretty good soon. So I'm pretty excited about all of that. So yeah, maybe someday. Number 3, when do you expect to get 5,000 subs? Well, at the current rate, it'll be in a month because I'm getting about 100 subscribers a day. So I'm going to say in a month. Number 4, I don't know. I just want to ask 5 questions. And number 5, what 5 questions would you ask yourself if you were in my position? That's a really interesting question. Okay, so what would I ask myself? First of all, probably like, how did you get into YouTube? Number 4, like, how do I want to word this? What approach do you take to making videos? Number 3, what is your like plan with your life, basically, I guess? Number 2, probably what is your favorite nation to play? And number 1, I would probably ask for like a guide on a country, just because I'm that kind of fan who would like want to see that kind of thing. So yeah, that's that. And next, Ivan Ignatovic, probably butchering that, but what is your favorite nation to play as? Muscovy. Mewtwo D asks, can you reform the Roman Empire? That is the question. Can I reform the Roman Empire? Well, I certainly plan on it. We will give it a shot when Rights of Man comes out. Patilda asks, what was your first Paradox interactive game and what year did you start playing it? I started playing EU4 in November of 2014. A friend bought it for me in a Steam sale because we were both looking for a new strategy game to play, and he found it, and he actually he ended up hating it. He says, I think it's too slow, it's too complicated, I don't like it, and I started playing it, and I'm like, dude, this is the greatest game that has ever been created. How do you not like this? But anyway, so yeah, EU4 was actually the first Paradox game although I did start playing the game Mountain Blade Warband back in like 2013, and that's technically a Paradox game. And I think I might have been playing Magicka before that as well. But yeah, first Paradox Grand Strategy, EU4, 2014. First Paradox game, period, probably Mountain Blade back in like 2013, 2012. So next, Torture asks, or says, I love you and your videos. Thank you, Torture. People like you make it all possible. Patrick Nikolai Falcade asks, your channel has gained a 1,200.5% increase in views in the last 30 days. How do you feel about that? Honestly, I feel super encouraged and confident and amazing for having such a wonderful group of people being a part of this community on my YouTube channel, and just, making this all come together and giving me the motivation to do all of it. So I feel pretty great about it, is how I would respond to that. Next, Ian Grapes says, or asks, how do you deal with Poland? And one of my favorite longtime subs from the very beginning, Oil Bucket, says, get allies as Muscovy, Bohemia, Austria early game, and Denmark works as well. And try to conquer the lands he has claims in cores on. This way all of your allies will help you instead of building up favors and shit for your allies to join an offensive war. A bit of luck works as well, of course. And now the question, how do you deal with Poland, is going to be subject to changes, but basically ally a Western nation and try to take advantage of a tech advantage over them, because Poland is going to be Eastern for a long time, because these days they basically always have to manually Westernize, which is really rough for them. So just wait a couple years. As you can see in this game, we've kind of beaten up Poland just a little bit, even though they helped save us from the Ottomans. So let's see what's next. There are a lot more. What nation would provide the greatest learning experience for a scrub? I could say that you should play the hardest nation in the game, and that would teach you, but that's not really genuine. It really depends what you're trying to learn. I had the most fun with Muscovy just because it was a really fast start with a lot of expansion, and it was very forgiving because you have so much manpower and force limit compared to other nations. So I would say Muscovy is a good fun one. As far as learning experience goes, like the Ottomans would be the easiest, but I actually made a top 10 list on my channel, and I would recommend checking that out because it's got a bunch of different nations that teach you a bunch of different things about the game that are not just easy, but actually like force you to kind of think and learn the game in order to succeed. So I would check that out. And that was Clay who asked that question. Next we have Grimmer28, who asks, where am I from? I'm from the United States, and that's all I feel comfortable disclosing. Number 2, do you play popular games like Hearthstone or League of Legends? I had a stint with both League of Legends and StarCraft 2, but found them to not really be my taste after a while, and kind of didn't like the communities in those games either. Just too competitive, too vitriolic and nasty, and I just really didn't enjoy myself while I was doing that. So anyway, next question. Well, I guess to answer the full question, though, do you play popular? I tend not to play popular games, just because I very much like niche games, because niche games like to do things a very specific way. Like EU4, for example, fills a niche of a very specific country management game. that most popular games don't strive for. Like, people love to say, like, oh, League of Legends and Dota are so complicated, and I'm like, maybe, I don't know what games you're comparing them to, but compared to, like, I don't know, EU4 and any Paradox Grand Strategy game, it's actually, like, super simple, and all Dota comes down to, I mean, it comes down to decision making and, like, knowing what build to do at what time, but I mean, apart from that, it just takes a lot of, time to actually practice those builds. But apart from that, I don't really see the appeal. I got kind of bored with it, especially since I played the original Dota in Warcraft 3, and I thought it was just like a fun like side mode, right? I didn't realize at the time, because I was like 13 or something, that it was like an actual like competitive game that people played, and I got kicked from a lot of servers for not knowing what items were, and I was like, this is stupid. I'm gonna go play Hero Line Wars or something of that nature. Next, what do you think about Flanders? Is this nation difficult to play as? You could... I've noticed that a lot of people have asked, like, how do I play the Dutch starts? And starting out as a vassal is rough. But the thing is, you can get France or England or Austria to help you get your independence, especially if Burgundy's at war with one of them anyway, or with somebody else, and you just, like, seize the moment, basically. After that, it's not really too difficult as long as you know how to play the political or the diplomatic game. A lot of small EU4 starts come down to that, is just getting the right alliances and abusing them in order to get the land that you need. So next, number 4, what do you think? Do you think humanist ideas are worth taking if you're a large nation such as France or Spain and want to conquer most of Europe? I think humanist ideas is actually almost always worth taking if you really don't like rebels, because it just gives so many bonuses, and even if you don't get any benefit out of the rebel control, which isn't true anyway, because the years of separatism reduction from humanist is huge. In fact, in Europe, if you take that and get the years of separatism reduction and combine that with offensive, you can actually stop most rebellions from even happening, as long as they're the same religion. And with humanist, even if you take like a Protestant or Reformed province and you're Catholic, it's still just basically going to stop rebellions. So you're basically just always going to stop rebellions. A lot of disasters don't happen because you have national unrest reduction. Humanist is just really good. And then finally you get the idea cost reduction. So you're saving tons of monarch points as well. The idea group basically pays for itself if you take it early enough. Next we have Yostin, I think it's Yostin Nepal, who says, this is insane, man. I mean, I was here when you had 200 subs, and in 3 weeks you're in 2,500. Insane and well-deserved. Congratulations. Thank you, Yostin. I definitely notice you on a lot of my videos, and I've noticed a couple of other people on this list. Don't worry, if you post it a lot in my videos, I know who you are, and I haven't forgotten you. I just want you to know. Next we have Johnny Martin, who says, glory to the legendary Byzantine Empire. Yeah, glory be to the Basilius and to Rome. Next we have Almost Original, whose Q&A is, what was the experience that you can't ever forget, and you don't need to answer if it's too personal or sad for you. There was one very powerful formative experience in my youth. I was about 16, and I lived with my father. My parents are divorced, so I lived with my father and stepmother, and they decided for whatever reason that they wanted to get chickens. So they built a chicken coop. We kind of live out in the woods, and we had this chicken coop, and we had chickens. And raccoons would break into the coop at night and kill the chickens, because raccoons are clever bastards, and they open the locks, and they get in, they kill a chicken, and they leave. So we started trapping the raccoons, and my great-great-grandfather served in World War II, and he brought home with him a German Luger, even though he was a medic. And so when we started trapping these raccoons, I killed 2 of them using the original German Luger in 9mm, and all it took to kill the raccoon with that pistol was like 1 shot, and it was dead. And I didn't feel horrible about it, even though I was killing animals, just because they were killing our chickens, and I felt like I was defending myself. But we catch a 3rd one, and my my dad, says to me, he's like, hey, don't use the 9mm Luger, use the smaller 22 long rifle pistol that Luger that we have, and use that to kill it, because otherwise you're gonna wake up the neighbors because the 9mm is too loud. So I took his advice, and we had a model Luger in 22 long rifle, and the problem with Lugers is they're very cool looking pistols, but they the blowback action that they have causes it to jam quite frequently, especially in the 22 long rifle pistol, just because there's not enough power to actually work the action. So I pull out this this 22 long rifle pistol, and I go out there, and sure enough we have a raccoon. And I don't know why, but I always took multiple bullets with me, even though it never took more than one before. So I load up the gun. I don't even put it in the magazine. I just load it straight into the chamber, and I put the gun down. I shoot the raccoon, and it just looks at me. Like it didn't drop dead. It just looks at me, and I'm like, oh, I think to myself, I must have missed, and like my heart was pounding at that point, and I was a little worried. So I load another round in, and the gun jammed, right? So I have to clear it, extract the case, and load another round, and I shoot again, and it's still just like sitting there, and I can kind of see from the sunrise that like there's blood on the ground. I've hit it. It's just kind of ignoring it. And so I'm kind of freaking out at this point in time. And I load the last of my rounds, and I shoot it again, and it's still not dead. And I'm like, man, what is going on with this raccoon? And all of a sudden it starts like writhing around inside of the trap cage that we have, and it starts like screaming, making this like almost like childlike scream of like agony. And so I panic, and I run back into the house, and I grab the 9mm Luger, and I just walk out there, and I just shoot it with the 9mm instead, just to put it out of its misery, because it was awful seeing it suffer like that. And I didn't really care if I woke up the neighbors. I just didn't want it to screw the raccoons for killing our chickens, but at the same time, like, I don't want it to suffer for that, just because I'm not sadistic like that. So yeah, that was an experience I'll probably never forget. It was so real, and I remember like trembling on the bus ride to school. Like my hands were just shaking the whole time, and I just kept thinking about it all day. It was a pretty formative experience. But yeah, next question. Russian guy asks, what is the best strategy for Muscovy? I can do good at them, but I feel like I'm not doing good enough as them. Muscovy, basically, first thing you want to do is take the mission to annex Novgorod and just take like as much land as possible, because nobody cares about Novgorod because they're Russian and Orthodox. Next, use your vassals to expand when you can. Use them to take land. Vassalize other countries basically when you can, and annex here. Vassalize here. And I mean, really, just if you can expand into the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, that's great. Usually, you can do this by getting an alliance with Austria-Hungary, and killing Poland sooner rather than later is preferable. Even though the forts can make it hard to convene your troops, though Lithuania and Poland's forts are spread out more evenly these days than they used to be. But anyway, yeah. So I would do that. Expansion outside of Europe is going to be really easy because hordes tend to just fall apart. Even if Kazan allies the Timurids, there's usually a way around that, and you can just go attack somebody else, generally speaking. So yeah. And really, sometimes the best thing you can do for any country is just to go play something else and get lessons from that country, get more experience, and then come back and play it later. Because if you play one country too much, you can get stuck in the mindset of that country. Like people who play Prussia too much and think that quality ideas are the best idea groups in the game, when really it's just Prussian ideas carrying them. But anyway, next we have Jew ? The Jewish Buddha in parentheses. What EU4 nations do you think are the most fun to play as from start to finish? Let's see. The most fun ones to play from start to finish. I really love the hordes in Manchuria where you can form Qing. Those are really fun. I really love the Japanese daimyos. I love Timurids into the Mughals. That was a really fun campaign. And I think Muscovy, of course, is really fun as well. I actually, as much as I do it, I really don't like playing in the Balkans just because it's really rough goings for the most part. Even though I do it so much, but anyway, let's see how many more comments. We still have more comments, and we're at an hour long. But I want to answer every question. So tell you what, this is going to be the end of the first part of this, and in the next part, I will answer the rest of the remaining questions. So thank you for joining me, and I'll see you in the next section.